everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Romance Reading Wrap Up. This is the show where we like to talk about romantic reading, not just Hallmark shows. It's a lot of fun. We enjoy doing it every month. And I am film critic Rachel Wagner, and Bree is here.
Hey, everybody.
How are you doing?
Can you believe, it's the end of February?
I can believe.
Oh my gosh. What is going on,
I know, it
Rachel?
feels like 2022 has lasted forever
I
already.
know. I know. I know.
But good, and I'm excited because I am going to LA at the end of the month. We're actually recording this a little bit earlier than we normally do, recording on the 21st because I'm going to LA.
I feel like we all live vicariously through your travels. I'm always like, where's Rachel going? Because I'm going to pretend that I'm there because I haven't been anywhere since 2020.
Well, I give you full leave to live vicariously through me.
Thank you. Thank you. Are you going there for film stuff or?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
going to the Hollywood Critics Association Awards night.
That's awesome.
So that would be my first time on a red carpet or that kind of stuff. It'll be, and I bought a dress. Very exciting.
Oh, is it the one you posted?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
loved it. Yeah, yeah. I feel like
So
you need to write a rom-com about a film critic. Like two film critics that always bump heads.
that
Anybody that's
would
listening, don't steal it. This is Rachel's.
be fun. Yeah, I should do that. Would be fun. I'd read that.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah. And Hallmark could adapt it, just saying.
yes. Well, I was telling Nina the other day that our friend Nina Wyman, great writer, was telling her that they should do a Hallmark movie set at a film festival. They have
Oh,
all the
that would
other
be so
festivals.
fun. Oh, absolutely.
They
Fall
have festivals
festivals,
that
Christmas
yeah.
festivals.
They have festivals that don't exist. Why not actually have one that actually exists?
Yeah.
Festivals, film
Save the
festivals.
Town festival, wine
Yeah.
festivals, no film festivals, people. Come
Yeah,
on.
and with like theater strike, like I feel like you could easily even work in a save the theater plot line along with the festival, and I and you could even have a like a celebrity being in one of the movies. If you didn't want to do critics, you could have a critic and a celebrity or something like that. Could be
Oh, yeah,
fun.
like this critic that always, rates the actors'
Yes,
movies really badly.
that would be good.
Oh gosh, we're writing a movie.
Sounds good. Well, today I'm excited because we are talking about a Sophie Kinsella novel, and this is your first time you've ever read Sophie Kinsella, correct?
Well, before I read this one this month, I read one of her newer ones, which I think you mentioned that you weren't a fan of. But I was waiting for this one on audio to come in from the library, but they had Love Your Life, which I'll talk about later. But I
Yeah.
was like, "Oh, well, I'll read this one first while I wait for the audio for this one to come in." So, technically, it's my second, but
Ah, very
it's what
good.
sparked the Sophie Kinsella February for me.
Yeah. Well, she is a popular novelist, and she actually, I forgot to write down what's her pseudonym. She has a, just one sec. Let me look
Oh,
that
I
up.
didn't know she had a pseudonym.
Yeah, she does. So she has another name that she writes under, which is um let's see. Well, Sophie Kinsella is her pen name,
Okay.
and her actual name is Madeline Sophie Wickham. The name Madeline Wickham.
Okay, were those books
Yes.
different than the Sophie Kinsella books?
Yeah, they're like a little different, but
Okay.
um they're still like romances. I'm not quite sure why sometimes she writes under Madeline Wickham and why sometimes she writes under Sophie Kinsella. Uh, but anyway, so she's written a lot of, all of her books are romances, um whether for either writer. So sometimes she uses her name, sometimes she uses, and it's funny because even on the cover of her Madeline Wickham books, it says from the author of the Shopaholic series, Sophie Kinsella, Madeline Wickham. So I don't know what the whole point of it is,
Interesting.
but anyway, she's written
Yeah.
a lot of books. Is the
Yeah.
point.
That's interesting.
I think that the Madeline Wickham ones have a little more spice.
Probably. Okay.
Um, but anyway, so she's written a ton of books, and she has what I enjoy about her books is that I think that she finds a way of taking a on current topic and then writing a kind of crazy romance around that topic in a way that I wouldn't say she's on the same level as Nora Ephron, but Nora Ephron was really great about doing that too. Of she would add these little sort of essays into her movies, and like for instance, in You've Got Mail, the whole little essay on Starbucks being a defining, making you make five choices just to order a cup of coffee. Uh, those kind of little sort of essays that she works in, and I think that that Sophie Kinsella does a great job with that as well. Like for instance, in I've Got Your Number, which was the one we're talking about today, there's a lot in there about communication uh and sort of our addiction to our phones and a lot of different things like that. But she works it into this kind of fun romance. And I
Yeah.
think that she does a good job with that. And I find her prose and her heroines usually to be very funny and enjoyable. I think she manages to make me laugh while I'm reading, which is not always in a romantic comedy, romantic fiction. That doesn't always happen. A lot of times they kind of forget the comic part of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I've Got Your Number. This is one of her standalones. She does the standalones, and she also has the series, the Shopaholic series. And in this one, it is Poppy simultaneously loses her engagement ring and has her mobile phone stolen, but she luckily finds someone else's phone in a garbage bin and connects with a guy called Sam, who becomes her confidant and love interest. So, what did you overall think about this book?
I liked it. I will say
Uh-huh.
that so it's from, like, first person, like, it's written in first person. Is that
Yeah.
the correct okay. So it took me a little while to really grasp what exactly was happening because it felt really chatty in the beginning,
Yeah.
but the further you get into the story, once you kind of figure out, "Okay, this is what is happening," um, I mean, it just kind of hooks you from there. I mean, I know a lot of people aren't really into reading first person, but in a story like this, I really enjoyed it. I don't know, it felt very I don't know when this book came out. It felt really like 90s chick lit, and I've always heard, like, Sophie Kinsella is, like, the go-to if you're interested in reading chick lit, and I really liked it. I really liked it once I got into it, so
Hmm. Yeah, it came out in 2011.
oh gosh, so it was
Hmm. A
into the
while back.
2000s, yeah.
Yeah, but but I thought I would read just a little bit of one section that I think gives you a flavor of the style of the book and also the humor in the book. And on this is page 181, at least on the Kindle, and it's she says, I hesitate for a moment, then quickly type an email to Lindsay. Hi, Lindsay. I want to give you something in my office, something you'll like. Stop by tomorrow, anytime. Sam, XXXXX. I press send without rereading it and take a swig of Cosmo. For about 20 seconds, I'm relaxed, savoring my drink, wondering when the canopies will start to arrive. Then, as though an alarm clock has gone off, I start, wait! I put kisses after Sam's name. I shouldn't have done that. People don't put kisses on professional emails. I retrieve the email and reread it, wincing. I'm so used to kisses, they popped out automatically, but Sam never puts kisses, ever. Should I somehow try to unsend the kisses? Dear Lindsay, just to clarify, I did not mean to add kisses. No, awful. I'll have to leave it. I'm probably overreacting anyway. She probably won't even notice. Oh no, an email reply has already arrived from Lindsay. That was quick. I click it open and stare at the message. See you then, Sam. Lindsay, XX, wink. Winky face. Two kisses and a winky face. Is that normal? I stare at it a few moments, trying to convince myself that it is. Yes, yes, I think that's normal. It could definitely be normal. Simply friendly office correspondence. Anyway, and so that kind of gives you a feel of sort of the humor of the book.
Yeah.
And
And
that,
it shows that, like, communication has really I North American communication, I don't wanna speak for, like, every well, she's, what, in, like, the UK somewhere,
yeah, the
right?
UK, yeah.
So, how communication has really gotten kind of lazy to the point where we're just like, "XO, XO," but at the same and then we, like, give ourselves a hard time 'cause it's like, "I don't know how to decipher this."
Yeah. Just to clarify, I didn't mean to add
Yeah.
kisses.
Should I respond back like this? Like, if people would just still use actual words, we'd be fine.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the lack of her even sort of processing that she should be writing for a man and not
Yeah.
herself is really funny.
Yeah.
And I mean, I do think that we probably don't need to have, almost don't even need to have the romance in the end. I would be probably just as happy if they ended up as friends at the end. But of course, it's the genre of the book. I get it. But but, I mean, if I were Sam, I would be so irritated with this woman.
Yeah. I agree. I was when the romance happened, I was like, "Oh, okay." Like, I'm not mad at it. I don't hate it, but I was like, "I really didn't need this." It
Hmm.
really was like Poppy's crazy, messy journey, and that was
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah. I think she makes for an appealing character just because she is so like honest. She can't help herself but be honest.
Yeah.
Hmm. And maybe that's why towards the end, when she's just about to get married to Magnus, it maybe feels a little off character for her to be doing something that's not really honest. That is just based on him buying her this ring, and I don't think that that would be enough for her character. But it does create a great scene at the end, I think, with Sam texting everybody at the wedding saying, "Stop, stop, stop." That's good.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, that whole
uh,
part at the ending, I was like, "What is going on here?" Because, like you said, I mean, this book isn't a short book. You spend a lot of time in Poppy's head and going on this
mhm.
journey with her, and so when the ending stuff happens, you're like, you really have gotten to know Poppy because you've been in her perspective the whole time. So I was like, "This doesn't feel like the girl that we've spent all these pages with, would
Yeah.
do this." But in the end, I think it righted itself.
Yeah, and Magnus is just the worst. Do we agree?
Yeah, he was
He
awful.
was terrible. Like when you find out that both rings were
Yeah,
heirlooms and were not, he made it seem like he picked both of them out for her, but it was both a lie. Is the
yeah.
worst.
And I think that she did a really interesting thing with class here. Like, it wasn't so much focused on "Oh, they are rich and I'm not." It was more of "They're really smart and I don't feel like I can hold my own against them."
Hmm.
So, yeah, like, he never really said anything to make her feel comfortable or never like, instead of making sending her words to, like, so she could play along with the game and feel comfortable, he could have went to his family and been like, "Hey, let's change the subject, let's make her feel comfortable." Like, it was weird, but I like what she did, that it wasn't about the money, it was like intellect in a way.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and I think, I guess Magnus liked her, but I'm not really sure exactly why
Yeah.
he wanted to go
Mary.
through with the wedding. And
Right.
does he really think that this is going to be a happy marriage? I mean, no way.
Right, right. Your wife basically would feel dumb every time she comes around to her family.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Well, and it's weird because she's a college graduate. It's not like she's, you know,
Yeah,
hasn't graduated high
yeah.
school, or not that that means you're dumb, but but she's an educated woman. So I think that it's just the kind of people that make you feel insecure regardless
Yeah.
of, that kind of question everything that you're saying. And it was funny when she realizes that even she realizes what the conversation that she heard in the church was really more about them complaining about him, not about her, which was kind of funny.
Yeah. Yeah, I
It was
like
like,
that.
oh, okay. Or they're like, oh no, he's messing this up again.
Oh, Magnus.
Yeah. I mean, and then the whole thing with Lucinda was interesting that, she finds out that he almost got engaged to Lucinda and that she's still in love with him. And that's the whole reason they end up she planned their wedding, and she
Yeah.
was kind of passive aggressive the whole time.
Yeah, that was interesting. I was like, I did not see this coming. I mean, it took some turns that I did not know were going to
Hmm.
happen. So,
Yeah. What did you think about the whole scene in the woods with the almost kiss between her and Sam? Do you think that was a good scene?
oh, I did. I
Yeah.
did.
You could feel it pretty strong. I mean, I think in general, I wish we kind of saw more of Sam in this. I wish maybe there was like one other scene like that to kind of, I don't know, build their chemistry a little bit
Yeah.
more, because they really don't spend very much time together. And that would have made like the ending really pay off, that like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
We
Uh
have kind of a track record of like movies and books where the heroine's like like engaged or in a relationship with
yeah,
somebody
it's
else.
true.
What is going
It's true.
on?
Yeah. But uh the the banter between Sam and Poppy was a lot of fun. They're going back and forth. I think she did just about as good a job as you could do of making like text messaging and that kind of communication uh, work for a book.
I did too.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I did like Sam. We could have seen more of him, but I don't know, his sort of like grumbly uh his personality that's always kind of one of my favorites. Of
Yeah.
like, what are you doing? What's wrong
And
with you?
I mean, it felt like in contrast to Magnus, I don't know, Sam just felt very accepting of her, like
Hmm.
how they met and everything was a little weird, but I mean, he really just seemed to be accepting of her. So,
Yeah.
you know,
It kind of reminded me of in Bringing Up Baby with Katharine Hepburn's characters just always getting into messes, disasters, and Cary Grant plays this stuffy uh, museum curator, and he doesn't know what to do with this woman. That's kind of how I felt in this. And I mean, and so many of her mistakes were understandable, especially the David guy that she thinks is his dad. And it turns out it's one of his school chums, that was his nickname. And he's like uh what do they call it? Multi-level marketing person.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. he's like
She's
She's
like, I
like,
thought it was your
sorry,
dad.
he's like, I hope you didn't respond to him. Yeah, I did, and he's in the bar right now waiting for you.
Yeah, it was
He's like,
hilarious.
what? That was funny. Uh, and I think that's what Sophie Cassell does well with her books, is that she makes them funny, and
Yeah.
you enjoy it for that.
It was like
Yeah.
situational comedy perfection on
Yeah.
page.
And her stories sometimes are just bonkers and ridiculous, so you kind of have to just go with it. But I think this one, it works pretty well. And there's not much spice in the book, but there is a lot of language, more than I remembered. I was like, ooh,
Oh, yeah, it's a lot of language.
she says the F word a lot. And
And
I
see,
know.
I love it because, like, when you think of the Brits, you think all, like, this very proper, but, they drop the F-bombs like nobody's business, and every time listening to the audiobook, I was like, "Oh, this is just hilarious. I was
and
not expecting this."
and I've heard that it's not really considered as much of a swear word in England,
As it is here.
as it is here. But I don't know.
Yeah.
You have to let us know if you're Brits listening, what about that. But yeah, there's a lot. not just that word. There's a lot of swearing in this book. So if that's not your favorite, if you don't like that, then not for you.
Right. Right.
But not really any spice. I mean, you can't have much when you're communicating
Yeah.
mostly over text.
Oh my gosh.
And I think that they have okay chemistry. Like I said, they don't have much time together, and I wish there was one more scene like in the woods to kind of build that chemistry. But it's okay, I think.
Yeah.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, hardy, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies.
Yeah, what would you say are the tropes in this one?
I don't know.
Yeah, I was trying to think because it's not really enemies to lovers. It's like a little bit maybe at the beginning.
Yeah.
The what do they call it? A not unlikely. They have a lot of coincidences that all add together. It has definitely elements of screwball comedy with the bad communication, and I just put like wedding shenanigans.
Yeah. I mean, would this be like happenstance? Like they
Yeah,
just
that's the word I'm looking
yeah.
for.
That is literally the only thing I can think of.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. But I think if you like kind of silly stories, what did you think of the whole thing with her ring? Like, is that as sort of a what happened to her ring, and then the fact that Lucinda had the ring? Like, what do you think about that whole part of it?
Um
And then she tried to make like a duplicate, a fake ring.
yeah.
They're like, what's that?
Yeah. I just Lucinda having it I, I mean, I guess at that point where you find out Lucinda and him were together once upon a time, by that point, I was just so over Magnus that I was like, of
Yeah,
course, like you're going to throw something else extra in there to kind of help her see, like, maybe this isn't really what you should be doing. Um, so I was just like, okay, what I was just ready for her to be done with Magnus. So I was like,
yeah.
whatever.
Magnus was such a jerk. We talked about it, but I mean, it would have been nice at the beginning to have had a little bit more understanding of why she said yes in the first place. I guess she was just impressed by maybe he made her feel smart, or I don't know why
Or
she
how
said yes
smart
to
he
Magnus.
was. Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't know. Yeah.
evidently, yeah, all these women are in love with Magnus.
Magnus is some
Yeah,
kind of charmer. We don't
I
get it as
guess
the
so.
readers, but you know.
Yeah. Well, there we go. So let's talk about the other books that we have been reading. And, or I guess what we should say, what would you give? What would you give? I've got your number 1 to 5.
I rated it a 4 stars. I liked it.
Hmm. Yeah, I do like 3.5 to 4. I think
Mhm.
it's just kept me laughing, and that's the key for this kind of book.
Yeah. I mean,
Mhm.
when I posted that I was reading it, I got so many messages like, "Oh my gosh, this is my favorite
Oh,
book." And
really?
I'm like, "Well, great. I'm reading it. I don't really know what's happening, but hopefully I end up loving it." So,
Yeah. Okay, very good. We'd like to take a second from this episode of the podcast to celebrate our sponsor of this episode, and that is the Hallmarkies Patreon.
Do you love Hallmarkies podcast?
Do you want an inside scoop into what happens on the podcast?
Do you want early access to episodes and loads of cool perks?
Now is the time to become a patron of Hallmarkies podcast.
By becoming a patron, You get to access our patron Facebook group.
You can request episodes or even be a guest on the podcast.
And most importantly, any patron can join our monthly movie watch-alongs with stars like Paul Campbell, Natalie Hall, and more.
It's as low as $2 a month to join in and become a special part of the Hallmarkies family.
Please consider, and we will love you forever.
Go to patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
That's patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
Talk about what we have been reading.
Okay.
The first one that I want to talk about is one that you recommended, and I really enjoyed it. It's The Matzo Ball by Gene Meltzer. And this was a very funny concept. I told some of my Hallmark writer friends, I'm like, you should read this book because I think it could have a lot of potential.
I think I did get an email that somebody is adapting it. So
good.
It is being adapted. Okay.
Oh,
Go
good.
ahead.
Because the whole concept of a Jewish woman, the daughter of a rabbi, secretly writing Christmas books is such a fun idea, such a fun
Right.
concept, really good. And then her it's a second chance romance story because her first kiss is back in town and he is planning the matzo ball, and she is assigned by her editor to all of a sudden write a Hanukkah book, and she's like, what? I can't do this. And and they're all like, we thought you'd be excited about this. And the I thought the back and forth and the banter between her and this guy was really good. And also they bring in, she has chronic fatigue syndrome, and so she's kind of embarrassed by that a little bit. There's a point where she basically passes out, and he can be a lot. He can be pretty. You can understand why she gets very upset with him at times, but then he's so sweet about making it up to her that kind of won you over.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
but at
he
first,
straight up embarrassed her at some points, but he also didn't know at that point that she had this thing going on. So
like he makes her wear this matzo cracker costume. She's so mad about it. And, but then he gets somebody to help her with things around the house and help her recover. And so he won you over by the end.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know, I just thought the concept alone was just so clever. The idea of, because there are so many Jewish writers who write Christmas, whether movies or books. So
yeah,
it's definitely not a leap. That's for sure.
I thought, I
Very
think
funny.
the concept was what I loved the most, because it's like a secret. She comes from this
Yeah.
big, important Jewish family, and it's like, don't let anybody know I write Christmas romances.
Yeah, she's got all these Santa statues and snow globes and stuff like that in her office, and she's like,
watches Hallmark movies.
Yeah.
It was perfect. And she writes under a pen name, I think, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She
writes under a pen name. Like, nobody knows except for her best friend. So
I liked him too. He was good.
I know, I loved him. I'm like, can he have his own romance? I want him to have a romance.
That was cute. It was cute. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was a really fun Hanukkah read. So people should check it out. What is your first read?
So my first one was Love Your Life by Sophie Kinsella, which, what in the world did I read? I enjoyed it. However, it was just like this train wreck of a relationship. It's like these two characters meet on a writer's retreat where you can't share any personal details about one another. They have that whirlwind romance. It's like all fun, jumping off the coast of Italy into the ocean and stuff, and just very intense. And then they find out they live in the same city. Well, then they get back there and it's like, okay, we're going to start dating now. And they realize how horrible each other are.
Yeah, that was where the book lost me, because I just felt like these two people should not be together.
They should not.
They are just totally different. And like different values, different personalities, different, and I never got that sort of opposites attract kind of feeling. Like it was just frustrating because you're just like, I don't like either of these people.
Yeah. It is an interesting read from the standpoint of like whirlwind, fall in love fast, and then get back to reality and realize, like, oh, you keep it really cold in your apartment. Oh, all of your furniture is old and dangerous to be around, and your dog is annoying. Like, there's that. And like you said, it kind of lost me. But again, going to the concept, I'm like, wow, this is kind of interesting to explore, like falling in love real fast and then realizing like you don't really have much in common, but you both really want to make it work. So yeah, I think I rated it like a 3 star. It was interesting concept, but it was like a train wreck. Like I was peeking through my eyes reading it, like what's gonna happen next? This cannot get any worse.
Yeah, and yeah, they just never successfully made that switch from with opposites attract, like you have to do. You have to make that switch that they aren't hating each other. I mean, I guess it's enemies to lovers too, but it was the only thing that they had in common was they were very attracted to each other.
Yeah.
That was it.
And I don't know if this is like a Sophie Kinsella staple, but like reading 2 of her books this month, I was like, she loves throwing the ex-girlfriend in there that like the family loves. Because
Yeah.
the ex-girlfriend in this one, like the family adored her. And it's just like, oh, here we go with this. Like I'm not always a fan of that, but
Mhm.
so
Yeah, the characters were just well, I mean, you honestly felt like he had more in common with the ex-girlfriend. Like
he
he
did.
should be with the ex-girlfriend, not
Yeah.
with
I mean, he did.
yeah, and their different apartments. That alone should have given them the idea that nope, we're not supposed to be together.
She walks up to us and she's like, this is ugly. Like this building is ugly.
Yeah, yeah, and didn't he have like weird statues and art and stuff like that?
Paintings and
Yeah,
stuff. Yeah. But I
she's
mean,
like, that's the
hers is
ugliest art I've ever seen.
but hers is
And
like
black
dangerous
walls.
to be in.
Wasn't his walls painted black? Yeah, I think. Oh my gosh.
The saving grace was honestly the friends, like the side characters. I'm like, I
Yeah,
love them.
yeah, and the dogs.
Yeah.
They were fun. But yeah, it was disappointing, that one for me. I was really looking forward to it. Um but my next one is actually a reread that I did for book club. I read To All the Boys I've Loved Before by Jenny Han. Again, it was our book club pick this month, and
I love that book.
I just really enjoyed it. I just love Peter. I think Peter is. I know not everybody loves him, but I love him. I think he is so great, and he is definitely a little bit of a manic pixie dream guy. He's kind of up for anything that she has, doesn't have like enough of his own opinions about things. And that gets better in the second as the story continues. And this one, it ends on like a big, kind of a big cliffhanger, which a lot of people don't like, but, which they changed for the movie. But I, I just love Peter. I think he's so charming.
Yeah, I really liked Peter too. I did.
I think it's a little bit weird that she almost has this relationship with her sister's big time ex. It's not like somebody that her sister just like briefly dated. That No, this was like her high school boyfriend for
Yeah.
growing up, and so for her to, I don't know, I feel like that's a little weird, but so maybe that's part of the reason I'm also like way more Team Peter than Team Josh.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think that Lara Jean is a very sweet, fun character, and you just enjoy. I mean, this crazy thing that happened to her, with the letters getting sent and mailed. Um, and I do think that probably the movie influences me a little bit because I saw it first and then read the book
Oh,
originally.
okay.
Yeah. And I just Noah Castino is so charming. I love him. He's so great, I think, and as Peter, so that also makes me like Peter a lot. And I don't know. I just think it's a cute little book for a cute teen read that doesn't have the sullen, angsty teenagers, which is not my favorite. Uh, but it's just a sweet, fun little romance.
Yeah, I think it's just adorable.
Yeah.
It reminds me that I mean, young adult. I don't really like calling it a genre, but whatever. Like they have some amazing, powerful books that come out. But books like this, man, it's just like, man, teenagers, they fall in love. It's very intense. Like when you fall in love as a teen, you think like this is it, because it is so intense. And books like
Yeah.
this and the movies just remind you that like, you know, romance, there should be more romance geared towards that demographic because it is such a intense time of life where I mean they experience it too, you look back years later and you're like, was it love? And I mean I think it is. It's what you
Mhm.
believed love to be at the time. So I just it was adorable. I
Yeah.
love. I need to still read the third one, but I've watched the movies, so I feel like I know what's going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So what's your next pick?
My next one is Taste by Stanley Tucci. I've really been in a nonfiction mood and I love food memoirs. I honestly know nothing really about Stanley Tucci, but I was seeing this book and everybody was like, oh, it's so good. You need to read it, food memoir. And I loved it. I mean, I can listen to people talk about pasta all day. I love kind of like the inclusion of like old family stories. So, I mean, if you're into food memoirs, people, go pick it up. Check the
Mm.
audiobook out from the library. It's not a really long read. I mean, I think it was like a 4-hour audiobook and I just breezed through it. So, yeah, Taste
Oh,
by
cool.
Stanley Tucci, guys. Go get it.
Good. Well, my last read was to get ready for the new movie. I read Death on the Nile by Agatha Christie, and the movie adds some stuff,
Okay.
particularly this whole sort of prequel where they explain how Perot got his mustache, which was totally unnecessary. Like, does anybody really need to know the origin story? But they have it in the movie. So there's some stuff added in, but for the most part, it covers all the main beats of this mystery in the movie, and I think it was pretty good. I think I liked Murder on the Orient Express better. I think as a book, I didn't like the. I liked the Death on the Nile movie better than Murder on the Orient Express movie, but I liked the book better than the movie. I mean, than the book better than this book, but it got lots of clues and lots of red herrings, and Poirot's a pretty fun detective for the story, and yeah, I enjoyed it. It was fun putting all the pieces together and then seeing the movie and everything. So yeah, it was a fun read. Have you ever read any Agatha Christie?
I have not. Oh my gosh. I have one that I just recently got. I think it's called like A Deadly Affair or something. I don't know if it
Uh-huh.
is obviously like a reissue and they've jazzed up the cover. So, I'm excited to check it out. I've always been nervous to read Agatha Christie because I'm like, some of her original titles were kind of racist, but
Oh yeah.
I just hear like if you are into mysteries, she's like a must read. So I'm gonna give her a try.
Yeah, I mean, it was a while ago, so there's probably some stuff that is pretty dated.
Yes, I'm always like people are like, "You have to read And Then There Were None," and I'm like, "Have you ever Googled the original title to that book?" Like, I'm
Oh,
not jumping to go, but maybe it'll be life-changing, so,
yeah. I mean,
um
it's just a light mystery.
yeah,
I wouldn't. It's definitely not life changing, but if you are in the mood for putting the clues together and doing that kind of thing, then it's pretty fun.
okay,
But what's
okay.
your last one?
My last one is The Valentine Wager by Nan Reinhardt, and this has one of the best meet cutes I've read in a long time. It starts off with the heroine driving on the wrong side of the road. And so she's getting stopped by this police officer who thinks she's drunk. Well, she's just recently come to the States from Ireland. So to her, she's on the right side of the road. But like
Uh,
all these cars have been calling the police, like, you need to come stop this car. We think she's drunk. It's dangerous. And then, of course, like there's a hot police officer that stops her. And she has like an open container in the car. She's not drinking it. Again, clash of cultures. But she's new to the town. She's left Ireland because she's had like this breakup, and she's going to be like the marketing person for her cousin's like brewery. And yeah, they it's immediate attraction, but they make this bet. She's like, just coming out of a relationship, and he has this reputation for being a playboy. She's like, let's make a bet that like we cannot flirt with each other for 3 weeks. And so like all the townspeople get in on it, and they're putting money on it. Like it was perfect small town fun. I like seeing Valentine's Day romances, and it was just I sped through it. So that's The Valentine Wager by Nan Reinhardt.
that sounds really fun. I definitely have to check that out. I always get good recommendations from you.
I aim to enable.
All right. Well, next month we are going to be reading Spot of Trouble by our good friend Terry Wilson. So that's going to be a lot of fun. I haven't read that one. I haven't read, I think, any of her non-Hallmark books, actually.
I think was this my first? I think this was this was my second non-Hallmark of hers.
Okay.
Well, no, this will be my second. I haven't read it yet.
Okay, good. Yeah, so it should be a lot of fun. We're excited. And yeah, that's what we're going to read. So if y'all want to read it too and be ready to talk about
with
it,
us. Yeah.
it'd be so fun.
Because she posted on her Instagram the cover of the next book that follows this one. And I mean, her little dog Charm. There's like a Charm lookalike on the cover. So
yeah. So yeah, let us know if you have read any of these books that we've talked about. Especially, I've got your number. I'd love to hear your thoughts about it or about Sophie Kinsella in general. Let us know what you think, and you can follow both of us on Goodreads. We'll have that link in the description. But where can people find you, Bree?
I'm on Instagram. I did change my name. It is at Bree Unabashedly, and I co-host the Categorically Romance podcast.
Great. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all of our social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So check that out. And also make sure you're following the podcast at Hallmarkies Pod and Hallmarkies Podcast, all of our social media. And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. That helps us so much. And if you are listening on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And we also have our patron group and merch store, where the patron group, we recently did a live Q&A for the patrons with Terry Wilson and Cindy Busby. So that's super fun. And those great opportunities. So join the Patreon. And then also we have the merch store, which has tons of fun designs. So please take a look at that. And thanks so much, Bree. It's always a blast. And we'll talk to you all next month. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.